Welcome to my channel. I continue to fill my collection of coloring books and collage pictures, my annual review. In previous video I already mentioned that one of my favorite subjects to color is cute animals. I think that this video I will dedicate to the same subject because I have a lot of books which I can include in this category. Let's start from Christmas by T.Bogema. I think it's the most relevant topic now, Christmas pictures. So previously I purchased PDF pictures from Tatiana, and only from Christmas third part I started to color in her books. Here I prefer to use budget pencils like Arteza. Before I purchased alcohol markers, and even now I feel a little bit uneasy to spend my more professional pencils like Prismacolors on a big pictures where blending and it isn't very important. I think that pencils like Arteza, which are quite creamy, very vibrant, and cover this paper quite nice, even if paper is thin, so they are perfect choice. Here I don't think that it's very important to do very soft, nice shading, nice gradient. Most of all, I think that these pictures, they have to be cheerful, they have to look festive. So sometimes I use here the craziest color combos and I really enjoy it. I have this evening picture. I really love to do pictures with evening or night sky here because it really creates good contrast to the areas of snow. I can sprinkle the background with white paint to recreate impression of the falling snow. And recently I used to gather my Arteza pencils and my Ohuhu markers. I hope that this year I will be able to do this one. There is something very sweet for me for this page. Very lovely. Maybe that's morning after Christmas, or maybe it's just the beginning of Christmas day. Even if mouse is very simply designed, you can still see on the face like this expectation of the amazing day ahead. So really very sweet. And I do love compositions here on all pictures. Very nice. I have some pictures which I already colored but hadn't posted video. It will be a small present during December. Here I experiment again with background because I noticed that all my backgrounds, they are mostly either green or various shades of blue or violet. So finally I did something different. Something different didn't go quite well from the beginning. Markers didn't blend very smoothly, but I added a white halo around the snow globe with a white pencil, and then I sprinkled background with white paint, and it considerably improved the background. The snow globe I absolutely love. It was quite fun to color this texture on the head and the golden base of it. Next one of my favorite pictures. Here I think that I found perfect color combo from Arteza pencils, how to do interesting color for the pine tree, for those needles. And I think that color which I selected for the background, it really complemented all the Christmas ornaments here. And of course, mouse, it's absolutely adorable. This one I did with Artix pencils, and for me Artix didn't work as well as Arteza on this paper. Yes, it's totally possible to color, they are also very pigmented, very vibrant. Just on this paper they feel a little bit more hard and waxy. So simply Arteza maybe feels softer, and that's the reason why I still stick to Arteza mostly when I color here. That was my first page in this book. You know that I love pictures where we have a little bit of steampunk vibe, and for me those tubes, maybe that's chimneys inside of the mice house, they really attracted me to this page. I decided to use a relatively limited muted color palette with only a couple of vibrant elements, and the biggest fun I had when I colored the canopy here, the sofa. So, quite lovely book. I would say that all her nice little towns, number 1, 2, 3, 4, they are almost identical. I hope that this year I will start her nice little town number 4 because it's also full of nice pictures. So fourth book is also quite lovely. If you don't want to purchase all of them, I would recommend probably the fourth or the third. But I also have her colored pictures from book which is called The Santa Village, which I also consider as one of her best. Unfortunately, as I said, I don't have the full book printed. I purchased it and I printed only pictures which I wanted to color. Now I unfortunately can't print them. Maybe soon I will resolve this technical problem, but for now I have this cutest elf, and that's why I love the book, because elves are very cute. And a lot of nice interiors of the elf's house and of their activity. This one is also very sweet. I don't remember which book is it from. Maybe Christmas number 1. Here we have the Ice Factory. Of course, I wanted to color a picture with skating. I'm not very happy with this paper which I used. So on this paper, all colors, even if paper feels thick, they looked a little bit more pale somehow. Difficult to explain because it's not professional paper, it's something simple for design, yet it was totally possible to color on it, so I used it. I also love to color everything regarding gardening, so here we have the gardener's house. Some fun summer activity. I think that it's not all. Where are my... yeah, I still have them inside of the pile. That's definitely one of the best pictures which I did. I think that it's quite lovely, even if initial choice of paper, which was cream, maybe didn't complement the main image. Maybe on white paper contrasts would be stronger, but I definitely enjoyed coloring all those cupcakes, ice cream, other baked goods. Very fun picture and a lot of nice memories about coloring it. Another one which I think that I really did in a very good way, and I'm glad that I left white paper. Sometimes simple white, it's the best contrast to very detailed picture. Here I do love how I did cookies and oranges and those reflections from the lantern. That's my favorite. The elf is very cute and all the details. I love the machinery which they use for distributing candies. Very nice. I definitely need to try and to print something more from the Santa's Village. It's a very lovely book. Well, from T.Bogema we are moving to the book by Martin Noble. Here my story isn't as optimistic as it was with T.Bogema. There I already adjusted to paper in her books, so I can print, I can color even on thin paper. Here I really wanted this book because I love the idea of traveling around the world. That's the thing which I miss the most. And Martin Noble is one of my favorite artists, but when I received it, I was shocked by paper. I would say that it's very similar to Witches. Not very pleasant, very thin, and even markers didn't blend here well. So far I did only one page. Now I do love how it looks, but I remember my struggle starting from the background. In the beginning it was a very simple idea to do this simple gradient from peach into pink, from pink into light lavender, and then into blue. On normal paper and with good fresh markers, it could be easiest thing to do such gradient. But on this paper, they didn't want to blend. They created very hard edges, borders between colors. Exactly the same problem which I have in Witches by Usiku. So those clouds, they are not from the good life. Not because I wanted to add clouds to the turkey sky, but because I needed to mask the ugliest areas. Yes, they helped me. Then I worked with pencils trying to mask the ugliest areas. So after this initial shock, the rest was relatively easier to color, but of course on bad paper it's much more complicated to color small details, and architectural elements, they are full of small details, because Martin Noble created very beautiful designs, very accurate in architectural, so almost like photography, easily recognizable. All cats are very nice, but to color fur, where you need to layer and to cover paper to be able to add texture on this paper, it's a big challenge. But you know what? I think that I am over the shock with this book, so I'm really ready to do another one, to do another attempt. After I gathered some experience after my struggle in Usiku, I think that here maybe I am ready to return to it, because really book is very lovely, and for myself I discovered many beautiful places, especially from Asia, for example, so I want to color it. I, as usual, love how Martin Noble create compositions on her books. Maybe I just need to select something where amount of details isn't that big, like this one. Well, I expect it not to be very easy coloring. This one, it's complicated. A lot of tiny details here, and we have village with some greenery and with some trees, some tiny buildings. I expect that on this paper it will be very complicated. And relatively empty area of the sky where you need to do nice smooth cover for the sky, for the mountains. I still don't know what to use to avoid such problems as I had on my first page. Well, so book is lovely, but I really wish that they printed it at least on the paper similar to Creative Heaven. I honestly don't know who is the publisher. For me, it's one and only book from this publishing company. But it's a shame that work of such a beautiful artist and such an interesting book is printed on such a bad quality. I imagine how nice it would be printed on paper similar to Hannah Carson or Maria Trolle books or Johanna Basford. It could be a very popular book because cats, they are adorable, and it's interesting to color places together with flowers also and other plants. But it's a struggle, not a pleasure, but rather a struggle. Next, let me show you my current state of Australian animals by Selina Fennick. I think that I still need to color at least 5 pictures. Here you can see that, no, even 6 pictures. I forgot about frog. The same problem. On the bad paper, it's very difficult to do fur, and even when I adjusted to the paper and when I started to use together harder and softer pencils to cover paper and then to add texture of fur, I still had the problem with the background, because background it's just flowers. Flowers are interesting, but still you need to add something behind them. And only when I started to add a little bit of markers, my life started to be much easier. Because in the beginning, when I did this pencil background, it was a nightmare. It doesn't look very attractive, and it's long and exhausting to do this kind of the background. So sometimes nice animal picture could be totally messed up because of not very successful background. Some pictures are really very lovely, like this echidna, where I added a couple of additional orchids to balance it a little bit better. And those eagles, I remember how terrifying it was to start doing them, but I think that everything here looks lovely, both part of the body with eagles and then more furry part. Oh, I really want to do this one. Still not sure what to do with the background. You can see that sometimes I left my pictures without the background, and maybe indeed it's the best solution rather than struggling. But there are some pictures where we have nocturnal animals, and I wanted actually to emphasize it, to show it on the pictures. And to do dark background here, it's another kind of nightmare. I actually love this bee. I think that it looks quite furry here, and I do love her eye. With birds, I didn't have such big problems as I have with animals. First, many of the backgrounds I limited myself doing these circular frames. But when I can't do such circular frame, that's where the problem starts. Here you can see that I tried to do this soft pastel background, background made with light shades of pencils, but well, never was happy with all my backgrounds here. That's another one. I was extremely happy when I did the Rakali and her fur. I think that I managed to show properly shadows here and highlights, interesting, beautiful chocolate color of her fur. But then when I started to do water and background behind, I was sure that I ruined it completely. The same here. I do love the crane, but the background, it's so simple. The same thing here. I wanted to show that they are nocturnal and also white flowers. I thought that they would look better on the dark background, but that's I made with pencils, and well, in real life it doesn't look so awful as I can see now on the screen, especially because of electric lights, so it highlights all the problems with the coverage. This one is lovely, and I am glad that I decided almost to do no background, just a little bit of shading. In such ways, the interesting colors of numbat, it really attract all the attention, the pattern on the fur and their beautiful tails. That was my first page in the book. Somehow here I managed to do normal background. I think that I even used my Derwent color soft. Here I tested soft pastel, also not very helpful. That's the frog which I still need to color, but I hate those very thick lines here and here. Well, I think that here I used together pencils and markers. I don't know why here I still didn't have this idea that you can limit smaller amount of the background. So if I did background, I did it in full size A4. Later, when I started to limit the frame of the background, it started to be slightly easier, but still. And finally, another pile of books where we have huge amount of cute animals, and I definitely can say that during this year books by R.Hampson, I hope that that he's Richard, that he started to be one of my favorite artists, favorite creators of books, because I love everything. First of all, I love his art. Very beautiful pictures, full of humor, pictures where you can imagine story behind picture. I do love such things. Then I love when we have like the same characters, for several books, or at least for one book, that we can create a story again, like Traveling of Mr. Fogerty and his friend Snail. They are adorable and you can even follow their life in such way. And personally, I also love how productive is Mr. Hampson. He created already a lot of books and I hope that he won't stop, because we really need high quality art on the coloring book market. I really love colored covers of his books. First, they are very pleasant to touch and they are very pleasant to look at. Very nice color choices everywhere. And I also love his, so to say, marketing strategy. Apart from being in constant contact, like sending monthly freebie pictures for those who subscribed, he's also quite active by following those who color their pictures. You know that I color many artists and I post them on Instagram. And believe me, maybe the half of them sometimes like your pictures. So it's very happy moment when the artist indeed liked your colored picture. Mr. Hampson is very attentive, he always compliments, he reposts works, so he's really involved. I hope that he won't lose this activity, because he really made me very happy with his books. Of course, my favorite books, they are about Mr. Fogerty and Mr. Snail. I think that that's a couple of friends. We actually discussed it, something that maybe think that Snail is female, but well, that's a thing to imagine for everyone. I fall in love with Mr. Fogerty from the first book. Here I did several pictures and I discovered for myself that even if paper is also thin, here I surprisingly don't have such problem with doing marker background, and my favorite pencils for now are polychromoses, but sometimes I switch to Prismacolors, they also work quite well here. It's just my personal preference, because for once I decided for myself which colors I use for the body of Mr. Fogerty and body of Mr. Snail, and I try to repeat them from one picture to another, just like I do with Matchstick Mouse, and they are from polychroma set, so that's why I more frequently color with polychromoses here. But even if in the beginning I was afraid about paper, now I think that I don't have any problems. Maybe because his compositions are quite well balanced and many pictures are also limited by frames. Where they are not limited like this one, I simply did the background quickly with markers and it was very easy thing, very quick way to do it. I also love that his pictures are full of tiny cute elements. You may fall in love with the main image, for example, and then when you start to color, you start to find other, maybe secondary elements, some additional details. I also love that pictures, they have name in all books, so it gives you initial idea what we have here. In those small pictures, they are also nice. Sometimes I add a little bit of acrylic paint to my pages where I wasn't very happy how I did the first layer with markers for the sky. I added a little bit of paint, and acrylic paint work well on this paper. I know that majority of my pictures here, they are maybe extremely vibrant, but these pictures, they serve exactly to what they have to serve. They are anti-stress for me. Some pictures from some artists, I love to color them, but I know that it will be struggle. I will be thinking over each element, but sometimes I just want to relax, and in such moment I select pictures by Mr. Hampson and I can play with any colors. I can just enjoy the process. So it's never a struggle for me, it's always a pleasure. Here I did background using Castle Art Pastel Tint pencils. It's possible to use them, but I realized that where I spent like hour by trying to blend them in acceptable way, I can do with markers in much better way, at least to do the first layer with markers and then to work with pencils on top. When he published a book about Mr. Fogarty traveling around the world, that was the moment when I realized that probably I will purchase all of his books, and I hope that he will continue story of Mr. Fogarty traveling. Initially, I planned to start this book from the first page and to color in order. It's like I'm traveling together with Mr. Fogarty. But then I stick probably on the third page, and I quickly realized that if I want to have some progress here, maybe it's better to forget about the idea of coloring in order and better to color what you can color right now, where you can imagine colors, where you have idea of color palette. So it really helped me to have a good progress. I even did title page here, and happy moment I didn't mess up the title page, which is my usual thing. I love this cute idea to add clocks on each page. Again, markers very quickly for the background, and then mix of Prismacolors and polychromoses for all the animals. He's very good at depicting various animals, very delicate, very exquisite line art, very thin lines, so many things which I can say about pictures by Mr. R.Hampson. Definitely he went to top of my list of creators of coloring books. Just look at the eyes of the snail. With only eyes he managed to say so much. Well, that's why I love this book. Here I stick with the Charing Cross station, and actually I have the idea how I can color this page, but just I thought that, well, I want to color carefully, I need to spend a lot of time, I want to add smoke, how to say, what we have from the train. So I wanted to be a little bit more creative, to think about some effects added. That's where I stick. And after that I decided that, maybe let's color something a little bit more simple, and then you can return here. So I did this cute picture in the end. My Mr. Fogarty managed to travel in train. I also love to travel in trains, so I totally share this pleasant moment with them. Especially I envy their nice lunch which they are having there. Here I discovered another problem. Mr. R.Hampson started to make differences in the first and in the second sets of pictures, and those additional changed details, they are so adorable that sometimes I don't know which one to select. I decided that to have a full story of traveling, maybe I will color only in the first part of the book, to be able then to flip through the finished book. But sometimes pictures from the second part, they are even more adorable. Here we have the Egyptian style picture. I really love that even snail has a piece of headpiece traditional for Egyptian pharaohs, and also Egyptian clocks. You know what, if I have only this book, I will be totally happy. I think that in a year I would finish it and still I won't be bored. Just look at this tiny image where not only Mr. Fogarty traveling on top of pangolin, but also snail has its own pangolin. Very lovely. I don't care about realistic colors here. If I need to color pangolin in A Fragile World by Kirby Rosanes, there I would definitely select totally different color palette. Here I played a little bit with colors just for fun and to make it more, maybe, in more artistic way. And so many cute characters. Then Mr. Fogarty visited Japan. Markers are so helpful here. I did water, I did sky very quickly, and then I can concentrate on the main characters. The same here. It's mix of Prismacolors for the train and polychromoses together with Ahuhu markers for the rest. And the captain. I discovered that I can even color on this paper using color soft pencils. I don't like when I have some decent sets which I don't use, so when I manage to find paper where I can finally use them, I am always happy. Yeah, that's a book where I definitely intend to work more and maybe even to finish it. Lost and Found, I started it also with pictures about Mr. Fogarty, because we had a color along together with our Ukrainian girls, and it was dedicated to Olympic Games. I decided to select these fun pictures that Mr. Fogarty and Snail also decided to participate. But unfortunately their equipment is outdated and they didn't manage to arrive in time. But while they traveled to the Olympic Games, they visited a lot of interesting places. That's one part of their travel. That's second part. Even if they didn't participate in cycling competitions, at least they saw a lot of lovely places. You can see this big difference between first and second part. The background is totally different, so we can even consider it as a totally different design. I was happy to discover it. It's a very nice touch by R.Hampson. Oh, maybe he's Russell. Sorry, I always forget the name. Yeah, awkward moment. Anyway, I also have my recent work here, where from the beginning I knew that I wanted to do this impression of old paper faded on the sides, which I tried to do with distress inks, and I wanted to use a lot of those cream, beige, light brown colors to recreate impression of old labels, old postcards, and only several colorful elements. I think that I managed to do it very well. I enjoyed doing all those bottles, those watches, even insects, which are obviously not my favorite subject to color, but here I don't mind. And sadly, I have 2 more books, but totally untouched. But I promised myself that now I will finish my December Christmas marathon. Then maybe I will spend some time with my other abandoned books, like frozen fantasies and other mythographic winter books, which I also touch only in January and February. And after that I will dive into books by Russell James Hampson, because I can recommend them to everyone. Even if paper is quite average, still designs are pleasant, fun to color, always put a smile on your face, and it's possible to color both with markers if you prefer, and even with budget pencils, because honestly here we don't have to think about some exact color combos like you have when you color portrait. Here are more important to have fun, to color these beautiful pages, to look at the cutest details. So I wish that we will have a lot of more books by Russell Hampson. He deserves to be very popular because his books are really very beautiful, and yes, during this year they gave me a lot of pleasant moments where I managed to forget about my problems. So thanks to these books. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you very soon in the next part.